somewhere in this village there is a hidden library that no one can find because no one is looking for it. No one has ever heard of it. In this secret library, there are hundreds of thousands of books. Their pages seem to come alive, like a heartbeat in a hardcover. These books have much to say to anyone who wants to listen, but nobody listens, nobody hears them, and nobody even knows they exist. Except for one man. He took his 6-year-old son into a plain-looking office building that didn't stand out to anyone else. But the man knew better, as he had been there many times before. He knew the lobby led to a spiral staircase that went up to a room filled with ancient treasures. The room had gold curtains, crystals, the smell of ink and paper, and rows upon rows of beautifully carved bookcases. The father's face lit up with recognition, and his son's face filled with wonder. "I've told you stories, but you can't really believe it until you see it for yourself," Henry told his son. The boy was tracing the patterns on the shelves, running his fingers over the old wood. A splinter stuck in his small hand, but instantly healed itself without leaving a scratch or any blood. Even Henry paused and stared. "So what exactly is this place?" the son asked, already forgetting about the splinter. "The secret library," Henry answered in a hushed voice. "This place holds all the books of destinies. Everyone's life story is written here and stored on these shelves. It's infinite, even though it fits in such a small space." "The covers are really pretty," the son said, distracted, as he picked out a pale blue book with a silver-scratched spine. A name and date were engraved at the bottom: Katia Adriana Malvina, March 14th. "So everyone's destinies are in these books." Henry nodded. "Is yours here? Can I see it?" He led his son to a corner and picked up a dark green leather book with a scalloped cover. "This one is yours?" the son asked, amazed, taking the book from him. "Have you read it?" "No one can read their own destinies, Dima. To me, it's blank, like one of your sketchbooks." "I guess that makes sense," Dmitri said thoughtfully. "We're not supposed to know the future when we're making choices now, even if our choices are already written. Destiny may know it, but we don't." "You're so intuitive for your age," Dima, Henry said with a sad smile. He no longer needed to be psychic to realize that his illness would take him before he could see Dmitri grow into the fine young man he knew he would become, before Dmitri would truly understand what this library meant. Dmitri traced the date engraved in his father's book, hearing his father's thoughts, February 17th. By then he had already found out his dad was sick, and tried not to think about how many more birthdays they might have together, tried not to think if this could be the last one. He blinked back tears and carefully put the book back on the shelf. "What about my book?" "Your book is a little different," Dima, Henry said with a sorrowful look in his eyes. Dmitri followed him to a side wall with a bookshelf next to a tall stained glass window, each panel a shade of violet or amber. Henry looked through the books, but Dmitri was drawn to one immediately, as if by a telepathic pull. He took out a burgundy book with gold geometric engravings resembling flower petals or ivy leaves. As he traced the shimmering shapes, a deep loneliness filled him. He sensed his father's apprehension as he turned the book over in his hands, shocked to find Dmitri Ronalrik, December 3rd. "That's not right. That's not my birthday. It's supposed to be February 14th, he said, confused. He opened the book and gasped. He saw words. He wasn't supposed to see his destiny, but he could. If no one is supposed to see their destinies. He told his father, "And I can see mine, then this isn't my destiny. This is the one I was supposed to have had if I weren't psychic." The sweet scent of eternal flowers and the dusty smell of paper always hit me first when I step into the secret library. Specks of light scatter off the crystal chandelier as I walk in. I'm never entirely sure why I come here. My book is wrong, so I can't skip ahead to see what happens next. It's like an old friend familiar after all this time, but still a complete stranger. I've never read it and never will. I could, and sometimes I'm tempted, but what good would it do? It would be like reading a fantasy novel, a story so close to reality that it could be nonfiction, but it isn't. It's an imaginary character living an imaginary life. It's not me. I wonder which one of us did Katya really fall in love with. I hope it's me, but I'm not sure if this is really me. Maybe that's why I visit here often, especially when I'm confused or unsure of what to do next. This place reminds me of Dad, and he gave me more wisdom and guidance than my inaccurate destiny ever could. The golden pixie dust in the air swirls around me, recognizing my psychic presence, and I swat it away, annoyed as it tickles my nose. Instinctively, I go to my book. It's a habit, a magnetic pull, and I'm the metal. On the shelf, under the violet and amber window, I find the burgundy cover with the petal-like engraving and the title Dmitry Ronalrik. December 3rd, I open it without intending to read it, but I notice a piece of paper between the pages. Funny, I never noticed this before. As I unfold the page, I feel a chill. Dear Dima, it's Dad. What? Everything in me goes numb, and my legs give way as I slide to the floor in disbelief. No, this can't be possible. But I read the words over and over again, and they are real. Stunned, I continue reading. If you're reading this, then it means you've grown up to be a fine young man and a strong psychic. It also means that I am no longer with you. Tears spring to my eyes, but I blink them back, needing to see clearly to be sure I'm not hallucinating. I have a confession. I probably should have told you this a long time ago, but you were still so young. So young and innocent, you shouldn't have to live with the consequences of my mistakes. But it seems like they have found you anyway. I couldn't tell you back then, and I know I won't be there to tell you when you're older. I was psychic too. Would I try to take deep breaths without hyperventilating? My dad was psychic? No, that's impossible. It can't be possible. My hands shake so hard that I can barely hold on to the letter. I know this must come as quite a shock to you. There's no easy way of explaining this, and unfortunately, it just gets more complicated. I only hope that when you finish reading this, you won't hate me. It all started long ago. Very long ago. I'll spare you the exact date, but let's just say it's been a few centuries. Some chemical reaction in the cosmos triggered destiny to become the most powerful force in the universe, even more so than gravity, able to align or disrupt the planets and life here on Earth. And it reached out to me with a proposal, the chance to understand more, know everything about how the universe works, and the promise of immortality. I agreed. You must understand, Dima, I was young in my 20s. I was an astronomy scholar, and destiny's offer made me feel like the best, invincible. I was also incredibly naive. I leapt at the chance of the promise of all the power ever granted. In exchange, I was supposed to be an editor and a groundskeeper of its library. I think you see where this is going. I think I do too, and it makes me sick to my stomach. I close my eyes because if I don't read the next words, then maybe they won't be real. The next words can be my Schrodinger's cat. But I open them again, and the blue inked words confirm it. I became the librarian of the secret library. Destiny was a brilliant, prolific author, and I edited the books according to its instructions and maintained the secret library. Tweaking a few sentences and arranging a few books on a shelf seemed like such a trivial price to pay for immortality and invincibility, and I loved it, moving things with my mind, never getting sick or old, reading people's minds. It gave me such a thrill, like I could have everything and anything I wanted, leading a rich life in high style without a care in the world. In reality, I had nothing. Destiny controlled me. I had promised to do its writing, and in doing so, had signed away my destiny. I never had any choices to make, though it seemed like I had it all. It took me a good few centuries to realize that. The day I met a girl named Irene, your mother, was the day I realized that no matter the power and promise of destiny, I could never be truly happy without her. For what good would be a life forever if it was a life forever without her? I gave it up, gave up my powers and position in the library, and tried to turn a page on that very long chapter of my life. However, when you were born, Dmitry, I realized that I would never be free of it, that destiny had followed me into you. That's why I'm writing you this. When I saw your eyes change color for the first time, like mine had all those centuries, I learned that was destiny's way of saying the story must go on. I should have realized that destiny would try to find someone to fill my position in the library, and who better than someone who shares my psychic genes? You. I am so sorry, Dmitry. I never thought this could happen. Your DNA is indeed different. Because you're psychic, it's because of me, it's all my fault. It's tampered with because you inherited those genes from my old immortal self. I didn't know, I never imagined that it would pass to you when I gave it up so long before, and once I realized it, it was too late. But you, Dima, are psychic because of me, and you must take my place in the secret library. I'm sorry, Dmitry, I never wanted this for you. Please forgive me. Katya. 1248 Chandler Avenue marks the end of a small street in a bustling part of town. Surrounding me are the backs of brick buildings, with some fire escape ladders trailing down to the rough asphalt below. The sound of cars passing on the nearby street creates a constant rumble between the walls, and a few lamps cast a dim light on the otherwise shadowy road. By this time of the evening, dusk has settled in, casting everything under a murky shade. I wouldn't imagine Dmitri hanging out in such a mysterious place. But then again, as I approach the building, I can picture him perfectly, sitting on the front steps waiting for me. He looks as handsome as ever in a royal purple sweater. But there's a mysterious vibe about him that seems to blend with the surroundings. He nervously wrings his hands and adjusts his glasses. He's been somewhat on edge all day. Yet, seeing me seems to bring him some comfort. "Hey, you made it." He stands up as I come into view. "Yeah, it took me a while to find it, but of course. What did you want to show me?" I ask, giving him a quick hug. He turns so that we're both looking at the building in front of us. From the outside, it looks like a regular office building, but I eventually follow Dimitri's gaze to a faded wooden sign posted above the door. Whatever was once written on it has worn away from years in the sun and rain, but I can still make out some of the faint lettering someone published in Colorado. You could easily overlook it if you didn't know it was there, but Dmitri does. He pulls the brass doorknob. The secret library. "Dmitri." "Oh wow," Katya gasps as she steps into the secret library from the stairwell, her eyes drinking in the charm and magic in the room. "Dmitri, what is this place?" I can't lie to her anymore. I need to tell her the whole truth. Otherwise, destiny will keep latching onto my psychic secret and tear Katya and me apart. I don't believe destiny played any factor in whether Katya and I are meant to be. We fell in love, despite it being written against us, and I have to hope she will still choose me knowing my psychic side. The secret library, I repeat. These shelves hold the books of destiny's books that have every person's life story written. A storyline everyone unknowingly follows because that's what destiny chose for them. What do you mean? I don't understand. I sigh heavily, knowing there's no way I can explain this rationally. I know you don't. I start burying a hand in my hair. I didn't think you would. It's not something easy to understand. I can barely understand it, and I have to, Katya, but I don't know. And all I know is that it's true, and I have no clue where to begin explaining this to you or myself, how to even try. I can't stop the words from spilling out, choking in my throat, sentences that run into rambles that make absolutely no sense. Katya takes my hands in hers to steady me. She must think I'm delusional. Her touch, once so warm and comforting, now sears red hot deep through my muscles. She opens her mouth to say something, but before any words come out, her gaze falls on a pale blue book with a silver scratched spine. Why does this have my name on it?" She looks at me skeptically. I close my eyes and take a deep breath. "Because it's your book of destiny." "What?" I'm psychic, I admit, and her brain whirls, a jolt of shock and her red aura burning me. "What?" she repeats, squinting her eyes at me. "Please let me explain," I try, but she throws the book at me. "Is this all just a big joke to you? Am I just a big joke to you?" "No, Katya, wait. Forget it." She shoves me back as she tries to get by me in the narrow aisle, but we both end up toppling, a fall that trips me into the splintery bookshelf. I cut my hand on the sharp wood. I wince from the sting, even though I know it'll be over in a second. But Katya doesn't know. Even furious at me, she still gasps and instinctively grabs my hand in concern, sees the gash slick with blood before it completely heals itself in front of her eyes. "What? But you..." I saw she jumps away and stares at me in disbelief. This is unnatural. "You are unnatural," she yells and races out the door, letting it swing loudly and firmly shut behind her. I know. I curl my knees up and bury my head in my arms. I know, I've known, but hearing it from her confirms it. She has made her choice.